Hey everyone, it's Carla from Marie Lazo, and we have another episode today of Magical Living. So today is November 20th, and Mercury is finally going back into direct motion. Some people believe that there's a shadow period, so things might not really start acting right or really going direct until December 5th, that shadow period. But for the most part, Mercury goes direct today. So I want to ask the question. So now that Mercury is going direct, what have we learned? So now that we're no longer in Mercury retrograde or Mercury retrograde is ending, what have you learned? That is what I want to ask today. So, and by the way, before I even get started with that, I want to give a little shout out to my friends at Accented Glory. Today is National Head Wrap Day. So I decided to wear my hair wrapped, and I'm also rocking my cowrie shell tassel earrings by Accented Glory. Accented Glory is run by my friend Tanya Cross Miller. I always mess it up. I'm so sorry, Tanya. She lives in North Carolina, and it's like a family business. She and her daughters create these by hand. They've been featured in Essence, and there's a whole bunch of other places where they're, and she's on Etsy, so a lot of places where they have been featured. And she told me that there was, that today was National Head Wrap Day, so I wanted to make sure that I participated. So here I am, and I really love these earrings. I'm going to mention the link to, I'll give you like the name of her feed so you could see it, and so in case you want to get your own. They come in different colors, and they also have other accessories like matching head wraps and earrings. My head wrap is just fabric that I have. So hey everybody, just wanted to just say hello. As I said, today is National Head Wrap Day, but I really want to come on today to say that now that Mercury retrograde is going back direct. Hi. Now that Mercury is going direct, what have we learned? So I started a class last week called Retrograde Romance, and it was about learning our past patterns and habits, and learning how we can attract new healthy love in the future. Because Mercury retrograde, if you don't know, is a time when the planet Mercury is going, or appears to go, in backwards motion. And the planet Mercury, as far as astrology is concerned, it rules communication, and it rules electronics. So when the planet goes backwards, there's that saying, as above, so below. So when Mercury is going, when it appears to be going backwards here on Earth, we seem to have a lot of similar issues where people are having problems with communications. We are having problems with technology and other kind of, in our gadgets. So it happens about 3 or 4 times a year, and you often hear people talking about like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Or, and the other thing that happens, you hear from people in your past. You hear from former lovers, former old friends, old bosses. A lot of interesting things happen that have to do with the past during this time. So they tell people, people are told not to do anything new, not to launch any new projects, but to review, reflect, reevaluate. So especially when you hear from an ex, for example, the idea is maybe not to take it too seriously, as far as like starting up again with them, or not making any firm decisions, even if it's like another job offer, to wait until Mercury goes direct. Because it's very possible that things are going to change, someone's mind is going to get changed, or it's just going to be one of the decisions that you realize, I should have waited on this, or maybe this wasn't such a good idea. So especially when we're hearing from exes. I remember a few years ago, I met this guy, and actually this has happened twice to me. So, I definitely know better by now. I had dated, exactly. They're an ex for a reason, but in the moment we're not thinking about it. But before I really got into understanding what Mercury retrograde was about, I started dating a guy during Mercury retrograde, and I thought it was cool. But by the time Mercury retrograde went direct, it turns out that he went back to his ex. I have to tell you, this happened to me twice. This is like during those days of I was really doing a lot of like internet dating, which also should have been a clue. You know, it's electronics, it's the technology, communication. So these are two different situations where I started dating people during this time, like went on a first date, and by the time Mercury retrograde was over, turns out that they went back to their girlfriend. Like they had been on a break, you know, whatever. And, you know, I got stuck. So, you know, hey, that happens. I learned. I won't do that again. So what I'm saying is, as K-Red Z30 said, they're an X for a reason, and that's true. And sometimes we forget. You know, now it's also Scorpio season. Well, it's almost going to be over, but it's the idea that it's cuffing season. The weather, you know, people are feeling like a little sexy right now, and the weather is getting cold, and people want to have their indoor boo. So sometimes you might be lonely. So when you hear from that ex, you might think, well, maybe things will be different, maybe not. So the idea is that if you hear from someone during this time, don't make any firm decisions until after Mercury goes back to its direct motion, because you might decide something and realize, oh, you know what? He's still an asshole. You know, that didn't change. But you didn't listen to your intuition, or you didn't listen to all your friends saying, it's Mercury retrograde, don't do it. So anyway, so we're now going direct. So I taught my class, Retrograde Romance. Well, actually, I'm still doing it. So last week we had about 3 sessions, 3 live video sessions, and this weekend we have 2 more sessions. So last weekend we were talking about our old habits, our old patterns. We also talked about family dynamics. And because these things really have a big part, they play a big part in our romances and how things are going well. Now, I'm not saying I don't believe in, you know, generational curses or anything. I know about karma. I get that. But there is a lot to be said for your free will and the choices that we make. Sometimes we make choices because we just don't want to think about it. You know, we're like, la, 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 I don't want to know about it. I want to know about it. I just, you know, this guy is so cute. You know, forget that he's going with my friend, you know, or we sometimes will choose. We make choices that aren't the best ones for us. Now, the reason why we make those choices have a lot to do with our family dynamics from when we were kids. So that's what my class is about. We're talking about that stuff, and we're digging deep. And it's not always fun, but if you are serious about wanting to have you want to have like a solid relationship, healthy relationship, it's important that you know what your issues are. What's your shadows? What are your triggers? And that's basically what we did last weekend. This weekend, now that we've gotten all the hard stuff out the way, we're going to be focusing on, I have a new ritual called Thank You Next, you know, like the Ariana Grande song, Thank You Next. Like we're thanking the world, our past, our family for teaching us these lessons, and we're ready to go on to the next phase of our life, which includes healthy, true romantic love. So, or just like healing. And then we'll have a celebration ceremony. So Retrograde Romance is something I'm really excited about. And so, you know, does anyone have like any lessons that they learned, or did everyone like take calls from their exes? I heard from my ex too, I will say, you know, it was about work. You're like, yeah, sure. But, you know, I wasn't planning. Besides, I'm getting married next month, so I'm not even really thinking about, you know, exes right now. So anyway, I'm asking the question, you know, what did we learn? So even though romantically things are good for me, I will at least also share what I learned over this, during this retrograde period. So for one thing, so I'd written this book called Love Reset. I'd written it a few years ago, and I got the idea, like Spirit said, you need to do a course related to retrograde, you know, to Mercury retrograde. And I was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. But of course, because I got the idea late, I kind of got a late start. So that means I was busy trying to build it online. And of course, electronics and technology. Although I didn't have a lot of trouble with that, it just took me time to build it. So what that meant was a lot of people didn't get advance notice. So a lot of people were like, oh, tell me about your class, but then it was too late. So the thing I learned was that I need to have more advance notice. The good thing about that is I did have a very small class, so that meant that everyone was able to get a personalized, like one-on-one lessons with me. So it's almost like having a coach for these, for this 2-week period. People were able to just kind of like, we were able to dig into everyone's details and not feel like they had to share me with a whole bunch of people. So it also helped me learn what people wanted to learn. So in that sense, having a late start ended up being a good thing, but I promise next time, you understand what it means now that it's done. Because like in the moment, you don't know, in the moment, you don't always know what the stories are, what the lessons are. We get the lessons after the fact. So that's what like this class is like what did you learn? What did you learn? Because sometimes when we're in the middle of it, we don't understand that this was supposed to happen or we were supposed to know about that. We don't know until we know. But hopefully we take those lessons and we move forward and we keep that in mind for future relationships. So, but for me, I learned that I will start earlier so people can have advance notice and be able to sign up, because people who wanted to sign up weren't able to because it was too late. So I learned about that. And the other thing, so as I mentioned, like I'm getting married next month, and I didn't really tell people I was getting married until I mentioned it in the class or in the promotion for the class. So there was a lot of people who did not know. I mean, I kind of knew, because it's just sort of like, I promised my fiance that we'd get married before the end of the year. So it's like something I knew we were going to do, and I wasn't planning to make this big deal out of it. So I just didn't really mention it to anybody. So then I started promoting this class, and I was like, I'll teach you what I learned, blah, blah, blah. Because I got engaged, and all of a sudden people were like, bitch, you're getting married and you didn't tell me. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah, so there's a lot of people who are kind of mad because I didn't tell them and they had to find out from a live stream. So I'm sorry, everybody. We still don't have a date set, so but it's gonna happen. The whole point is like I want to do a big party next year, I was thinking like a big family reunion, something like, yes, thank you. Just go by your vibes. Thank you very much. I just figured, okay, we're going to get married next year. We'll have a big party and invite people. And I'm thinking like I want to do like a family reunion with a barbecue and like kids running around, like something really low key. And we'll do something simple now. I mean, I just don't need any big time wedding thing, but I guess people care about that shit, right? But, I get it. So, again, I still have a lot of people to call and let them know that we're going to be running off and getting married next month, right before Christmas. But anyway, I say all of that, and the whole reason I mention this because I'm 51 years old, so I have had plenty of experience dating. I've been married before. I've made so many mistakes. I've lived with people, and I was in this dating group, moderating this dating group, and I'm still in there now, and it's like over like 5,000 women, and I would see these women like make their mistakes, and of course it's easy to give advice when it's not your life. It's easy for me to say you should do this or you shouldn't do that or blah 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 when it's not my life. It's always easier when it's someone else's life, right? But I'm looking at different people making whatever mistakes that they're making. And then that little voice inside me is like, who are you? Who are you to tell them anything? Because your life is not any, it's not any better. Like your shit isn't straight. So how can you can't get on any high horse and be like, what do you know? And that I had to listen to that voice because that voice was really true. It was saying, you don't have your life together. So what can you learn from being in this group? You're on the same level as everybody else. So I was dating this guy at the time, and it just, it was like 5 years, and I never really had him. You know what I mean? It's like, I wanted him. He spent time with me. He wasn't seeing anybody else, but he wasn't in love with me. You know that book, he's really not that into you. It's like that. But I mean, he was totally happy to take up my time or whatever, but he wasn't really offering me anything. Like I spent, Christmases with his family, but yet I was just his friend, it's okay. So I was going through this time with this guy, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at women talking about their situations, but I'm also seeing women who are having breakthroughs. First they were having breakdowns, and then they were having breakthroughs, and they were starting to people were starting to correct their habits and start dating other people. And then you'd start to see women get engaged. And I'm like, wait a second, these women are getting engaged and they're moving on with their life. And I'm still here. What am I not doing? What am I not seeing? So I went a little deeper and I started looking, like really paying attention to what was going on. And I noticed that there was a pattern. Like, so a woman would come into this dating group, and first her question would be like, what can I do to get this guy back? Because we were all starting in that same place. And then other women would be, chasing after a guy that they were into. And like, well, if I do this tactic, how long will it take for him to come back? But then there'd be this thing where the woman started refocusing her energy on herself. She'd start having time for herself. Maybe she would start seeing, like, dating other guys, like, meaning like no longer focusing on this one guy. Like, if this guy isn't giving you all the attention that you're supposed to be having, well, then maybe he shouldn't be on, the number one, maybe he shouldn't have the number one spot in your life. So some women started dating other guys. Some women started, spending more time with family. Some women started just refocusing on their career or their school, and they started like just refocusing on themselves. And then some of them would start to, so for example, we talked a lot in this group about the emotionally unavailable man. Now, if any of you know what that's about, it's like when you're dating a man who's not really emotionally available to you, or in other words, he might be emotionally uninvested. Like, he's not really giving you anything of himself aside from his penis, and I'm like, this is what this guy is. Like, he is emotionally unavailable. He's unavailable. He's emotionally unavailable. But then there would come a time when these women would say, wait a second, if I'm liking this guy who's emotionally unavailable, does that mean that I'm emotionally unavailable too? And then when you start seeing that shift, you have to answer the question, and that question is yes. So it's like when you are chasing after somebody who is not responding to you, if you're calling that person emotionally unavailable, that means that you are also emotionally unavailable on some level. Because when you are ready for real love, when you see a dude that's trifling, you'll get bored. You just like walk away. I have better things to do than waste my time with you, because then he's a time waster, because you know what you want and you know your worth. But when you're not ready, when you're in that place of, I don't know what you'd call it, but when you're not totally available yourself for real love, that's when you find yourself with these dudes that aren't really there for you. That's right. She goes, I'm looking to chase me now and love me. Exactly. But when I'm trying to chase this other guy and try to make him love me, I used to say things like, well, he might not think he's dating me, but I'm definitely dating him. Like, these are things that I said, not even really paying attention to what that means. What that means was I was preferring to chase after someone who wasn't really chasing after me. And I didn't understand, I need someone to be chasing after me. I need someone to be interested in me. So if I'm interested in someone who's not interested in me, that means that there's something going on with me that I'm not looking at, that I'm not dealing with. That's me like going, la, 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 la. So I'm watching these women in this group make a shift, and they start focusing on, wait a second, maybe I'm emotionally unavailable. And what does that mean? So when they start doing that, then it's time to start looking at things like your own family dynamics from when you were a kid, like what happened during those days. And I started doing that too. So then I noticed that for me, for various reasons, like I wasn't really close with my mom. Like, we loved each other, yeah, but there was just issues where we couldn't totally connect like we needed to. Yes, self-love. It all comes down to self-love. So I realized I was chasing after this guy because I was used to chasing after my mother. There was like this love that I wanted so much, from my mother. I wanted her to give me. And for whatever reason, she wasn't unable to. Like, I've way forgiven her, and that's all past now. But I wanted her to love me. So it was no different when I'm dating this guy and I'm wanting him to love me. It was the same dynamic. So I had to do that work on me. I had to like love up on myself and really pay attention to the patterns that I had going on in my life, because I realized, wait a second. I have a pattern of chasing after guys who weren't chasing after me, like this whole unrequited love thing. It's not cute. It's not romantic. It sucks. It breaks your heart, hurts your feelings, all of this stuff. But yet I was doing it over and over again. But when I finally took the time to start working on myself and do that self-love, it is hard to show emotions. Yes, it is. It really is. But it's like, and then I wasn't showing my emotions to this guy either, but I was still chasing him. And anyway, it's just love, whatever that is. And I realized there was a connection there. There was a connection between me chasing after this guy and me chasing after my mother's love. And I had to realize I needed to break that. I needed to make that connection and say, you know what? This guy is not my mother. My mother is my mother. I love my mother. My mother loves me. And I have to acknowledge that I was perpetuating that cycle. And that is basically what the whole, my course, The Retrograde Romance, is all about. It's looking back at my own patterns and finding out where they come from, because we do a lot of things just kind of unconsciously. Like we will be sleepwalking, not really thinking about why we're doing certain things. But when we understand why we do things, then we can stop, and then we can start to create healthy habits and have healthy boundaries. A lot of those boundary issues we also learned when we were a kid, but if you don't know that it happened, you're just going to keep on repeating those things. So I had to learn, and that whole process is what I call the reset. So a woman would have a reset when she went from looking outside of herself for love to resetting herself to go inward, to say, I love me. What do I need? How can I love myself better? How can I love up on myself? How can I treat myself better? Like all of that inward love is so important, because it's such a cliche that we say, if I can't love myself, then how can I love anybody else, or how can anyone else love me? But it's really true, because if I don't have that self-love, I'm going to fall for all kinds of bullshit that's out there in the world, because I just don't have that strength within me, that self-love. So self-love is so important that we have to maintain before we can really think about bringing another person into our world. So as I said, I'm 51, so I have had plenty of time for lots of mistakes, and I can honestly say that I've learned so much about myself because I did that dirty work, and it's not fun. It's not fun to think about those old things that happened, and those things that happened to you when you were a little kid. But there's a saying, inner work equals outer results. So it's like, if you don't do that inner work, you're not going to get those outer results. So I'm really happy with where I am in life right now, because I did that work. And I'm not going to say it was fun, but I can at least say now I am through it. Thank God. So let me see. So that's basically, so Mercury's going direct. What have we learned? So I'm saying at least I've learned a few things, and letting people know. Well, letting people know in advance that I had a class coming. I learned about that. Letting people know that, oh yeah, I'm getting married next month. Oh yeah, I should let people know. And just getting my course together, But again, everything happens the way it's supposed to, and I have no regrets. So I'm going to offer Retrograde Romance again in February, because that is the next Mercury retrograde period. So I believe it's like February 20th, something like that. So I think I'm only going to offer this class for retrograde because it's such a powerful time. We're so tuned into the past during these times. So this is the perfect time to work on those past lessons. So, hit me up later, and if you want to do it in February, let me know. So I want to give you the card for the day. So the card for the day is Queen of Cups. That's today's card, Queen of Cups. And the reason why I chose the Queen of Cups is because we want to be the Queen of Cups is like the cups. There's water. Water is emotion. So we are tuned into our emotions. We're able to be vulnerable. But the thing about the Queen of Cups is that she's the royal card. So that means she is a leader, and therefore she has control over him. She has control over her emotions. Therefore, she knows how to love and how to give, but she is not bound by her emotions. Like, she's not just gonna just run off and do something crazy just because someone says, I love you. So she has control of herself. She is a leader, and she also leads in her emotions. Now, this card is from the Modern Tarot deck, the Modern Witch Tarot deck by Lisa Sturl. I love this card. This is my new set, and all the cards, all of the archetypes are women and feminine archetypes of all backgrounds and ethnicities. So the Queen of Cups, so it also comes with this little book. So I'm going to read you. So I already told you what I feel about it. The Queen of Cups is a woman in control of her emotions, and also she's very loving, and she's very strong in her love, in that if she's not in a relationship already, she probably will be soon, because she is balanced. Her love, her emotions do not rule her, but she is definitely in touch with them. So I'm going to read what the book has to say about the Queen of Cups, in case you want the official definition. So Queen of Cups, a comforting and therapeutic guide, she is deeply in tune with the inner worlds of emotions. Highly empathetic and creative, she spends a lot of her time gazing out into the waters of the unconscious, and it might be difficult to keep her on solid ground. If this card is you, trust your intuition and feelings in creative endeavors. If you search within, you will find a wealth of creativity and inspiration that will guide you down the right pathway. So the Queen of Cups is very intuitive, and she is in touch with her emotions. So they said she might be hard to hold down, but she is still very much in control of her emotions, and she will not let them rule her. So we want to be Queens of Cups. We want to be a Queen of Cups today. That is the card for the day, because we want to have that knowledge, that self-knowledge, and we want to have that self-love. So that is what that is all about. So again, I'm going to wrap this up. Again, I wanted to say that today is National Head Wrap Day. I'm wearing my earrings by Accented Glory. She's got an Etsy shop, website. She's on Instagram. I'm going to tag her below. And her stuff has been featured in Essence, and I'm really proud of her. My friend Tanya and her daughters who have done this. So, you're a Cancer, your emotions are all over the place. Yeah, I get that. Cancer, I'm a Capricorn, so no, we're like the opposite. So sometimes for me, I would need to give more emotions, and not just be like in my head. So it's a balance. It's always a balance. But, it's good. Nothing is wrong with all signs have their strengths, and definitely Cancers are close to their emotions, and there's just so much love and beauty in the water sign. So I'm an earth sign. I try to be grounded, but I can appreciate water, and I try to have more water in my life, because you can't have earth without the water. You can't have water without the earth. We all need each other, and got the fire and the air. But it's just also a balance for us to not overdo our particular element, so that we can be balanced in life and love. So I think that's going to be it for me today. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And if you have a head wrap, rock it. And I think the hashtag is National Head Wrap Day. So I will be online. Oh, good, you're gonna wrap your head. Very good, very good. Take some pictures, put it on IG. And I think the hashtag is hashtag National Head Wrap Day. And or just wear it outside, just rock it. And I thought it was maybe a made-up holiday, but I looked it up. It's actually a real thing, and it is today. So very good, very good. So everyone, wrap your head today and let's show let's show our head wrap, and however you want to wrap it, you go and do your thing. So everyone have a wonderful day, have a blessed day, and I will be on IG and Facebook and everywhere else if anyone has any questions. Talk to you soon. Bye.